Stone face, spiders.
Stone face.
Welcome to part 3 of the DM commentary. All right. I'm Chris Perkins.
Are you guys gonna like huddle in the dark of the passageway here while he goes out on his own?
Yeah. All right.
I am surrounded by talented people at this table, let me tell you. Did I mention I was a huge fan of their shows?
All right. When you go over to the face and you actually stand in front of it, it comes alive.
In fact, I just recently saw season 4 of Robot Chicken on DVD. Highly recommend it.
And looks at you and says,
I don't recommend you watch it while you are like in your kitchen with a knife in your hand, cutting vegetables. Likely to cut off a few of your fingers.
I have not seen the likes of you in a long time.
I have no idea where the voice for the talking dwarf face came from. It just sort of came out. I did not go into the game knowing how I was going to do the voice or even thinking about it.
Also has what appears to be a stud in its stone tongue, which is a glowing gem.
I wanted to give the dungeon some character, literally. DM tip number 3, sometimes things make the best characters.
We were going to check out spiders.
We?
If the voice has any inspiration at all.
Who else is there? I can't see any of them.
Just like, oh. Who said him first?
I mean the royal.
The voice is a combination probably of Foghorn Leghorn and George Jefferson.
I've not had company in a long, long time.
All right, guys, come over here.
All right, you sheepishly
amble over.
Usually the dwarf voices I do are just generally very gruff, but fairly non-specific. This one here had a bit of a twang, and I have no idea where the inspiration actually came from.
To meet you all. I hope you fare better than the last crew came through.
The gem that studs the dwarven face's tongue was actually deliberate, and I had planned that fairly well in advance. The idea occurred to me on the plane when I thought, wouldn't it be cool if they had an opportunity to solve a puzzle and get something that could help them with a future encounter? So I sort of kicked things off with a puzzle, which is really just a geometry problem. I figured dwarves, being good builders, would infuse the puzzle with a little bit of actual Undermountain lore to reinforce where the adventure was taking place. And also, because they're good builders, a geometric puzzle would not be beyond them.
He says, I'll tell you what. If you can answer 3 questions for me,
Here we go, boy.
then I will give you my gem.
Never hurts to have a little bit of Monty Python either.
Gets a taste again.
I don't have
You
what it
answer
needs
these
to
3
versatile,
questions.
you know what I mean? Thank God. I am just, after all, a face.
And if you were an architect of this,
I'm pulling dialogue right out of my ass here.
Could you tell us about any structural?
They're so good to humor me.
You know, any structural traps that might await us, or any areas of the dungeon that might be unsafe?
Yes, beware of doorknobs.
If I were so inclined.
We are great admirers.
But let me first.
We'll do the questions.
Well, that will certainly place a lot of trust in me and you. I don't want to give out information to just anybody.
Me and you and me.
You certainly don't look like just anybody.
By the way, when you're watching these podcasts,
All right, if you're ready, first question.
apart from the fact that they're all very funny,
When?
every time, just watch Zeb's expressions. This guy cracks me up without saying a single word.
13.
Okay, they should be able to pull this off. They've done history checks before.
13.
Yep.
13 plus.
I mean, look at it. Look how quickly these guys who've never played D&D before just sort of pick it up. They automatically go for the D20.
Blackcloak was this infamous, powerful archwizard who basically took over Undermountain, filled it full of monsters because he was crazy, and basically he and his apprentices shorted up.
Blah, 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 history, blah, blah, blah.
Treasures there, and kind of made it his own.
One of the virtues of 4th edition is that it is got a very easy learning curve. Once you sort of introduce players to the D20 and the concept of adding a number to it, that pretty much covers the bases. And then the only other thing they need to know is where their hit points are and their attack bonus.
Here's a toughie. What is the current year? You don't have to roll. You all know it is 1479.
All right. The year was 1479.
1479.
Really? 1479. My, how time flies. All right, third and final question. My adventuresome folk. Now, you got an isosceles triangle. One of the sides is 168, and one of the sides is 1479. That's the length of the third side.
That's awesome.
Watching their faces when they realized they had to do a math problem in D&D, yeah, that's always fun.
Easy as pie. You must have dwarven blood in your veins.
Tom got it. He knows his isosceles triangles. Probably his equilateral triangles, too. Lucky for the rest of the players, I guess. I gave the players deliberately time at the front of this session to find their characters, to role play, to get a sense that they could influence people and events through their actions and their conversations before throwing them into a combat encounter. Up to this point, we're, 3 segments in now, and they haven't really gotten into a fight yet. And so to the people who say 4th edition D&D isn't about role-playing, I say, you're dumb.
Thing appears like some centipede or something.
You got an isosceles triangle. We answered that already.
Can I attempt a little diplomacy to see if we can't get a little insight into the architecture of the
You
dungeon?
sure can.
Please, friend, see reason. We would like the chance to fare better than our predecessors, and so I implore to you with a 21.
Spectacular. He says, well, the dungeon has shifted over time, and some of the passageways are new.
With a 21, you know all the floor tiles are square.
That's all new. I don't know what's over there. But behind these iron doors, you'll see a room that has...
It's kind of fun that the characters, their first interaction in the dungeon is to talk to one of its architects. The fact that they can get all this information about the dungeon before they sort of find themselves trapped in it. I thought that was kind of a clever take, well, if I do say so myself, on dungeon design, something you don't typically see in dungeons. Often the architects are long gone, and the only trace of themselves is the rooms and monsters they leave behind.
That leads to the tomb.
Sweet.
Okay.
I sketch a little map on parchment.
It's also interesting to me because dungeons can often be lifeless places full of constructs and undead, and a character such as this face carved into the wall carrying the spirit of the architect, is a great way to kind of make it feel like a living place.
How do you get through these iron doors?
Do you lock the door?
He says, the doors are magically locked.
Let's talk a little bit about dungeon design,
Arcana or thievery.
since we're talking about actual dungeon features. A good dungeon always presents choices, or at least, as I was saying earlier, the illusion of choice. In this case, the players here are eventually going to have to choose between either going the way of the spiders or trying to get through the mysterious iron doors.
Should we try to pick that lock?
And which will they choose? Which will they choose?
He says, I used to have the key before I died.
It's a great way to empower the players, to give them a sense that the dungeon is a realistic place,
The key is lost to me.
that it isn't just a linear go from one room to the next room to the next room to the next room, that the choices they make will have repercussions on their success and possibly change the whole dungeon environment.
I hope you find what you're looking for.
I wish you all well.